Hello, it's Thursday, March the 25th, and we began yesterday a brand new series of daily devotionals on the prophecy of Isaiah. Some 30 plus, maybe 35 years ago, I wrote a little commentary on the prophecy of Isaiah. It's a wonderful book, 66 chapters. It begins very darkly but ends in glorious light with the promise of the new heavens and new earth. And Isaiah ministered for 50, possibly 60 years in Jerusalem in the mid to late 8th century, possibly continuing into the early part of the 7th century during the reign of four of Judah's kings. It was a time when Assyria, the great war machine that Assyria was threatening. It had already conquered the northern Israel and its capital in Samaria, but now in the late 8th century they were threatening Jerusalem and Judah especially, and they would not succeed, but following the Assyrians, of course, would come the Babylonians, and Isaiah prophesies way into the future of the Persian King Cyrus, who would deliver God's people again from bondage in Babylon. Well, today's passage is chapter 1 and verses 10 through 20, and it's a description of Israel's worship. And as you read it, you will see that they're going to the temple, they're offering prayers, they're offering sacrifices and so on, but their heart isn't in it, and it's all insincere. They're going through all the motions, but God says He hates it. In verse 14, He hates it. In verse 15, He hides His eyes, and in verse 16, He's not listening to their prayers. It's a very graphic description of formal worship, people going through all of the motions in formal worship in the temple, but their heart is not there. They are not in love with the Lord. They're going through the motions, but it is all in vain, and God is coming to judge them. Our greatest sins, this is the message of this second half of chapter 1 of Isaiah, that our greatest sins are the sins we commit in worship. When we worship with our lips, when we worship with our songs, but our heart is not in it. And that's a very sober message. Judah was going through the motions, but they were not in love with the Lord, and they need to repent, and they need to change their ways. Chapter 1, verses 10 through 20. The heart is not in the heart of worship. Well, that's today's message. Have a wonderful day.